We'll move on to the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and of course on the weekend there was a taking performance from Undersco, but he has fallen twice over fences. Does this concern you guys?
So it concerned me a lot coming into Saturday, because the issue with him in his falls, two falls when he was clear with the race at his mercy. So it wasn't pressure that made him fall, it wasn't tiredness that made him fall, it was just being pig-headed really that made him fall. And he's always had a reputation of a horse who will run away with his jockeys. He's run away with Ruby in the past before, and he never used to feel entirely in control. He always used to try to, take a hold, do his own thing. And when you're racing at the very top level, you want to do everything your jockey asks you to do. And until Saturday, he never felt to me like he was doing it. He wasn't. For all we've always known, he's a very good horse. A lot of people wanted to see him in the Champion Hurdle a couple of years ago. What he'd achieved over fences until Saturday was not exceptional. He would have won at Leopardstown, but he would have beaten Fleming Star and Simply Net. And his win in the Arkle last year was not the best Arkle performance in the last 10 years. I mean, again, you look at it and thought there might be more under the tank. Ruby deliberately rode him in such a way that he tried to stop him being too exuberant, and therefore it wasn't as devastating as you thought it might be. And that seems to be the key to him now. Not giving him free rein, because you can't trust him to look after himself in that kind of scenario. So getting him to shorten up into his fences, getting him to be more sensible, down the back on Saturday was a good idea. That's improved him, and if they can keep that going, then he's going to be hard to beat. But I don't think he's flawless yet. He wasn't absolutely perfect with his fences, and he does just have this little thing in his head that he could get a bit overawed by the occasion. The chances, you look at the race, and it's not a particularly deep race. I'm going to go against him, but with a massive proviso. I've weighed in with Sprinter Sacre. Mm-hmm. I wrote an article about Sprinter Sacre's chances in the Champion Chase. And the key to winning the Champion Chase is for Nico de Boinville, hopefully riding Sprinter Sacre, to take Underso on and to try to go past him at halfway or beforehand and stretch the field. Yeah. That's where he's shown his best ability in the past. He's got an exceptional stride. He's a much bigger horse than Underso, with a bigger stride, and he's got an exceptional jump in him. And we know that he uses that properly. He's not one you close your eyes when he jumps a fence. His jumping is fantastic, but he's been ridden in a very careful fashion in the last 2 years because of his, in inverted commas, problems, which I think have been hugely overplayed, to be honest. Yeah. His biggest problem is that he's had a number of wind issues, and when you get horses who've had breathing problems like he has, the thing that will compromise them is they won't be able to find as much in a finish. And we've seen it before. He led in the Supreme, where a Q card was favourite. One of the best races over hurdles we've seen at Cheltenham in a long time. Terrific novice hurdle. He looked sure to win that after the last, but didn't get up the hill. And of course he pulled up before the last in the Champion Chase last year. The more negatively you ride him, the more likely he is to find nothing off the bridle. For him to win the Champion Chase, he needs to win it before they turn for home, which I fully believe he can do. But if he's not asked to do that, then that's your bet out the window. So I'm hopeful that I can. I'm not going to convince connections to do it. I'm hopeful that somehow the message will get across there.
It's heartwarming to see him battle. He seems to have that fight back.
Yeah, but of course, in the Desert Orchid, he won the race by putting in a better jump than Sarah de Grugy at the last. Had the pair of them fiddled or a pair of them jumped it brilliantly, he wouldn't have been able to quicken up. He'd have run to the line and been beaten the neck. As it was, he found a perfect stride and gained 2 lengths in the air, and that won him the race. So you can see that his strength there is his jumping. And again, even when he was beaten in the Victor Chandler last year, when people said he was really disappointing, and he finished second, his jumping was fantastic through that race. But every time he jumped the fence well, he was restrained. And that's just not getting the best out of him. If you're going to run him in the Champion Chase again, you've got to say, we believe in you, absolutely. And therefore, when you wing a fence, we're going to send you on and get the rest of them in trouble, rather than we're going to restrain you to keep you out of trouble and put everything else back in the race again. He's got to get the others in trouble, and he can do that. And he can get Underso in trouble as well. I've got no doubt about it. But if he's not asked to do it, if they're going to allow Underso to dominate from flagfall, they might as well not run the race.
4 to 5 with Ladbrokes. Another Mullins horse is very short at this stage. We are only in January, the tail end of January, and another odds-on shot Undersco, isn't he? But
one of the things that's impressed me, I have to say, with Underso is how much he's on top at the end of his races for a horse that it's supposedly, he's a front runner, burns them off. He doesn't do that. He doesn't front run, doesn't burn them off.
He's got 6th gear, hasn't he?
But he has, if you watch him, you watch at Cheltenham last year, and you think at the top of the hill, just for a stride or two, is he susceptible? And then, he's away by 6 lengths up the hill, and he's never stronger than he is at the line. It was the same case again at Ascot at the weekend. He did fiddle a couple down the back, and Ruby was delighted in a way, with what he said. That
and they did learn to close him down.
And they did, exactly. They closed him down. Side Grugi's got within a length of him, length and a bit.
They've been allowed to close him down more to the point. Yeah.
Quite possibly, but then again at that point, that's when Ruby says, right, okay, let's go and put the race to bed again. And again, he's never, and he's going away from them again after the last. I think that's something that's rather understated with him.
That's the big positive with him. Of course, it's worth bearing in mind that we're focusing on the positives of his last run, rather than on any of the negatives from his previous run, where he took a silly fall when the race was won.
There is that danger, though, isn't it? He works up a head of steam at the festival.
There's always that.
He gets a horse.
Ruby. There's no one better at Ruby from stopping them doing that, and that's why you wouldn't want to see Ruby injured early on.
No, that's it.
This is a very difficult horse to know. But Ruby has finally got that understanding. I think if you ask Ruby for his 20 favourite horses when he retires, I don't think he's going to mention Ante-Post among them. Just because I think he's not one of those horses that you absolutely love. If you're talking about your favourite horse, you're talking about something that gives its all. Not necessarily the very best you've ever ridden, but always joy to ride. He would stand outside the wings. He would do this. He would do that. I just think Ante-Post makes it hard work for Ruby, and therefore he's probably not going to be as fondly remembered as one or two. And he, when he was asked after the race, is this the best 2-miler you've ever ridden? Yeah, he was very quick to poo-poo that. And he's been on
a few good ones, hasn't he? Especially with Nichols and everything over the years. But I mean, looking back to the Arkle form from last year, God's Own chased home Ante-Post, and I believe Dave, that's one that you like for the race.
I don't want to see him between now and March. I don't want to see him on a race course between now and March. And I think, you can see the race cutting up. And I was really just trying to look for a bit of each way value against him. And God's Own, I mean, we've always thought of God's Own over the seasons as a right-hander. He's got to go right-handed. He's got to go right-handed. He's got to go. He's got to be fresh. And he disproved that last year. I think if he can, if he can finish 6 lengths behind Ante-Post again this year, he'll be that would be good enough to get him in the frame. So the 33-1 looks good, but I don't want to see him turn up anywhere. Newbury, there's been talk of. I don't want to see him turning up anywhere. I want him turning up a fresh horse on good ground on the day, and I think that's his best chance of getting into the frame. And he will be ridden. He will be ridden for the places, I think, as well.
And Tom George, he's been very careful, not to run him on the background, hasn't he? The Haldon Gold Cup, when he's renewing, trying to win his crown, win the race back-to-back renewals. That didn't suit him.
I think he probably needed that.
He's a forgotten horse, which is a fair statement, because he likes the better ground.
I know both you and I fancied him, I think, for the whole this year, didn't we? Because he's good as a fresh horse, but. Actually, looking back on that run again, having watched it again, perhaps he did actually just need that this year. He wasn't quite at his peak that he was the year before, and the way that Third Intention went past him, with all respect to Third Intention, he's a good horse. I don't think he should be beating God's Own over 2 miles. So I think for me, as I say, the key to him is him turning up fresh on the day. If he does, then the 33-1 might look a decent each way price.
I mean, I was speaking to Sam Davis recently, and he's quite keen really on dodging bullets. I know he hasn't had his prep run yet, but he's 10-1, and say if he does run well, last year's winner. I mean, what horse?
Possibly the most. Well, I mean, last season, every time he was winning a race, we were going, well, he won't win anymore, and he just kept winning. I think he was rather underrated last season. He did sort of fly under the radar a little bit.
I think people said, the Champion Chase, it wasn't the greatest of races, but Special Chiara was up there, and he's got form with Side Grugi this year, so he's not that far behind. I mean, Ante-Post, to me, does look a horse that stands out, but at this stage, absolutely no value.
I mean, Summersby should have won that race last year. He came out to win the race in the run and then realised he was Summersby and put his head in the air. But that's. That gives you an idea of how strong the race was.
The Summersbys and the Special Chiaras are your yardsticks, aren't they? They are, because they'll rock up in these big events all the time, so you can more or less revolve the form around them.
I mean, bookmakers quoting Paul Nichols 5-2 not to train a winner at the festival this year. I mean, it's fair shout, but if Dodging Bullets does get there in top form, you're never quite sure.
5-2 is not to train him in. a winner means he's 1-4 to train a winner, and look at it that way. And I think
you're a very harsh bookie with those prices, aren't you?
I think you'll find some might think
But I mean,
some might think it's
Sam is convinced, that the fast run champion chase will suit him. If Undersco burns off from the front, he'll relish that. Maybe he does lack a little bit of class, but he's a past winner. He's got the proven form. And,
the fact that he's a past winner of the race.
He couldn't do no more, really.
I've never been a fan of the horse, but he is coming back from injury as well. So.
If Nichols in better form,
historical Cheltenham form is always
always
good.
important.
Yeah, it's a massive point.
Something to bring to the
Of course, the irony is that he's run several times at the festival
and run back
disappointed.
Blew out, and that's why
disappointed really badly in his previous 2 starts at the festival. So he's a difficult one to read in that regard. But maybe, as Paul Nichols said last year, maybe it's just taking time for him to grow up.
Yeah, I was a massive fan of him last year. He won that race for me. Back to Ante-Post, but so he's a horse I've obviously been following quite closely. But if Nichols was in better form, he wouldn't be 10-1. I don't think. I know he hasn't had a prep run, but he could easily run into the places.
With 50 days to go, who knows what form they're going to be taking.
Exactly. Undersco. He's one for the day if you want to back him. There's too short. A lot of them.
There's no point backing odds on shots Ante-Post for Cheltenham because if you rock up on the day, there's so many. There are about 100 and goodness knows how many bookmakers there on the day desperately trying to get money on their satchels. They will push the odds on shots out
for sure.
Until they get buried by 5 of them winning. Yeah. They will try to push those horses out.
They're only protecting themselves.
And a lot of the short prices Ante-Post are from firms who don't want Ante-Post liabilities, knowing that they're going to then do offers on the day of the race as well. So
somebody will give you somewhere along the line will give you even money on the day to £25.
Yeah.
If that's your stake and that's what you want, don't go back.
Best example of this is Big Buck. He won his 2nd and 3rd World Hurdles when he looked like a 2-1. He was 2-1 on through the season for them. Both times he's traded odds against in the ring.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. The amount of money that changes hands is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just terrific, and if you get a bit of value on a Mullins horse, all the better.
And we will do day one. Day one.
We'll probably
every bookmaker worth
out,
salt in the land should be trying to get the Mullins ones in the book.
There's a danger of him having a big accumulator, isn't there? He can run through the car.
It's 10-1. What is it, about 10-1 the accumulator now for the Mullins shorties on day one? Somebody will give you. I know Betfred did last year. They nearly got collared with it. They went 20-1, didn't they?
Well, a lot of people did slightly bigger prices. And I would have, we would have heard the end of it costing the industry billions.
Yeah, it's 40 million, wasn't it? 40 million.
It's all money out of the air.
Every one of the PR ones would have been out with the group.
They make it back. You never see a poor bookie, do you?
You never see him turning up at the races on a bike.
It's very good.
As my granddad used to say, you never turn up on a bike, did they?
It's very good business for big bookmakers because the interesting thing about when Frankie Dettori had his 7-timer and various bookmakers went under, the bottom line is a lot of small bookies went under because of it, and a lot of the big bookmakers simply subsumed the small bookmakers and ended up making fortunes out of it in the long term. So individuals, obviously, there was one particular individual bookie who struggled
Poor
that day
Mr. Wiltshire.
For Mr. Wiltshire.
I see Gary a lot around the courses, and he still reminds me of that day.
They never forget, do they?
Lovely guy. He's a great guy.
Yes, that pretty much wraps up the Queen Mother Champion Chase. We've got through a lot there.